yeah, like a lot of people was commenting on Rihanna and Nicki Minaj, of course, because that was a big one. But Nicki ain't drinking at all now; she pregnant. So Nicki Minaj is very old, man.
What?
He never knows what's going on in the pop world. Like he never knows. Never knows.
Yeah.
But we had
So our other
yeah.
for tonight.
You need to get it together though. Cause Nicki Minaj is married. So tonight I want to bring up. It's a couple things that I wanted to talk about. I know everybody's talking about Kanye West, and I know we're probably tired of talking about Kanye West, but I don't want to necessarily per se talk about him. I want to talk about two things. One, a lot of people are upset that he shared the abortion story between him and Kim. They were thinking of aborting her. And he spoke about that. He cried, he yelled out to the crowd, I almost killed my daughter. And a lot of people are upset and saying, when Kim first got pregnant, she told a totally different story. And obviously, that's the story that she wanted the world to know. I don't have an issue. I'm always trying to play devil's advocate. I'm always trying to see things from both sides. So my whole thing is, when do we take into account a man's feelings when it comes to a woman carrying his child? Because that's what I'm about to say. That's just as much as his story as it is her story. Now, you want to go out and you want to tell the world that, we got pregnant and we were so happy and blah, blah, blah. That's your thing. But obviously, there was something because his father didn't want to have him either. His father asked his mother to abort him. So obviously, this was probably something that was eating away at him. Also, he suffers from bipolar disorder. And if you've never experienced that or had someone in your life that is dealing with that, then you really can't speak on it. So I wish a lot of y'all would shut the fuck up. And then another thing is, those, from my experience, they're very emotional. They feel everything. And at the same time, they hold in a lot of stuff until they can't hold it in no more. And I feel like that's probably something that happened. So my whole thing with that is like, is a man not allowed to share his abortion story? Because it's his abortion story too, whether you don't have the baby or you do have the baby, and y'all had that conversation, it's still his story. And then I know I did a little bit of research on abortions and how men don't have rights, and ultimately they have tried to fight in the courts to give men rights when it comes to a woman aborting her baby, keeping her baby, and telling a man. But what it boils down to, how they'll never be able to do it, is because your medical information
is covered under HIPAA.
Yes.
And you can't tell. I'm very, 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 very against somebody else trying to tell you what to do with your body. But it's like a catch-22, because at the same time, like, you have the right as a man to say, I don't want to have this kid. But you can't force a woman to do something that she doesn't want to.
And on that, they were also saying, I think one of the arguments was, does a woman have the right, does she have to tell a man that she was even pregnant? Yeah. And that was like, no, because like under that law, her medical information is protected, it's private. She doesn't have to tell anyone. She doesn't tell her parents, she doesn't have to tell her husband, she doesn't have to tell anyone. And a doctor is not allowed to tell
divulge that information.
So,
well, years and years and years and years ago, before women really had rights, before we could really do anything, your husband could have you committed. abortions with that ended up, killing them and ruining their body at the same time. So thank God we have rights to be able to protect ourselves, because that just goes back to women being considered less than and not being able to make those type of decisions. Which, how is, no offense, Richie, but how are you supposed to know more about my body than I know about my body? So it's really unfair in that sense. But I feel like in this moment, him saying something, maybe not the way that he said it, because he was super emotional and he was really, really out there with the way that he said it. Because when I see the clip, he is. When I heard the clip and he's like, yeah, because I almost killed my daughter, I thought that you might have got to a car and didn't strap her in a car seat. My first thought wasn't on abortion. My first thought was he put her in a dangerous position that she could have got hurt. Right. It wasn't that he tried the abortion issue came up. But then once that came up, I was like, well, you're right. That's his story too. Yeah. That's his wife. And is he so?
And you can't say, oh, it couldn't have affected him because he wasn't carrying the baby.
It does.
You can't. We as humans have to stop judging each other and saying what's traumatic and what's not traumatic to someone.
Right. Because it'll be in the army, like it's the old day we used to deal with. Going a little bit off topic, but kind of what you guys just saying about how other people feel. Like, just because you're cold or not cold doesn't mean this person is.
Are you in my body?
Right.
Are you in my emotions?
Like, you can't tell somebody, say you hurt your ankle, you walking around, but you can walk around okay, but your ankle still hurts. And then somebody else say, oh, nah, your ankle's fine, look how you walking. But that doesn't mean I'm not in pain. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So you can't tell somebody how they're feeling or not feeling, how a person should feel or shouldn't feel. As a man, when you're married to a woman and she's carrying your child, you know what I mean? That's all you're thinking about. That's what you think about every day. You're like physically, you may not have to deal with you don't have to deal with the things that are going on physically, but emotionally, you're just as connected in just as much as a female. And speaking as a man that hasn't been part of it wasn't an abortion. My wife had a molar pregnancy, so the first child we had, we wasn't able to have because of that. And so,
but somebody can't say to you it didn't affect you as much as it didn't affect her.
Right, because we worked on this stuff. We planned to have a child, and then when the doctor says, oh, this isn't going to work, or we have these complications, that affects me as well. And that makes me feel some type of way as well. So, people I think are getting caught up because the way Kanye comes across. So when he tells a story, he doesn't tell a story like you and I didn't tell a story. You know what I mean?
But I think that's also because sometimes when he's telling a story, he's telling it when he's having a manic episode, he's already a passionate person. Right. But he's always been passionate like that, and it always comes out really wrong, but I don't think he's ever coming from malice intent. Like, I don't think that's what it is. It's just that those words get jumbled up and he wants to hurry up and get out and prove his point. Right. I also think in a situation when you start to realize that you hated one of your parents for certain decisions that they've made in their lives, that you feel like it affected you and this is the reason you're this way, but then you are faced with those same decisions and you start to see, and then you make those decisions, you don't even notice, oh shit, I'm making the same decision, or I'm confronted with that. So for him, I think it was a mind fuck. Like, for so many years, like, I probably resented this man because he wanted to abort me. He told my mom to have an abortion. But whoa, hold up. Now look at me. And it probably didn't even dawn on him while he was having that conversation with Kim. Like, this is the same reason you mad at your dad. This is the same reason you have issues with your dad. And now you having this conversation with your girl.
And that's that sit down moment. That's what have a seat. Think about this for a second.
My cousin says that Kanye hasn't been the same since his mother passed, and I agree. I feel like his mother was kind of his anchor, and I feel like
which a lot of us who have healthy mothers,
yes.
They are. But
yes.
once you lose your mother, you will never.
And especially somebody, because you don't just wake up one day and start suffering from bipolar disorder. This is something that he's probably been battling his whole life.
You,
and I'm pretty
you
sure
usually
that
get
his mom,
diagnosed in your early 20s.
and I'm pretty sure his mom has probably been basically like the thing that was keeping him together. And because of course she knows her child, so she knows when her child is about to go mad. So I'm pretty sure she was constantly,
What I've noticed from experience with bipolar and knowing someone with the disorder is that they will have it. It's in them. It's been in them since they were a child. It takes one
thing to trigger
it and blow it up, and that's when they usually get diagnosed with it. It can be the smallest to the biggest thing. So I think, but we also have to remember that Kanye West has always been outspoken. Before his mother passed, he was always outspoken. He was the one telling y'all he was going to be the greatest before he was the greatest. Like, he was the one, just promoting himself, being him, being who he was, doing the total opposite of what everybody else is doing. But when you add everything else into it, I think that's what throws people off.
One of the comments says maybe his dad was bipolar and didn't want him to suffer.
I mean, that's a good theory. I mean, we really will never know, but I doubt that was the reason why he didn't want to.
What's the status of his dad? What kind of person?
I don't think his dad is like a dad, like not like a loser or anything like that. I think he's like a college graduate and everything like that too. But I just think that, and I believe his parents were married at one point, but they got divorced and. It was he just didn't want a kid at that time, I believe. But it also could be that I believe a lot of us, not even only in the black community, as humans, period, a lot of us, because bipolar, there's levels. Yes, so it's huge. There's
spectrum, I should say,
of bipolar disorder. So I believe there's a lot of people that suffer from bipolar disorder and have not been diagnosed.
Or been misdiagnosed.
And also, just having a kid in general, that's just not something that you can just you're not going to go buy some damn Cheerios. You're having a child.
You're about to be responsible for a whole
person for the rest of their life.
What are you doing with your life? That's a conversation you definitely need to have even before you even get to that point. You have that conversation.
So I'm glad we talked about that, and I'm glad we all agree that. Well, I'm not glad. I mean, we all have the right to have our own opinion, but this week we agreed, because last week we didn't. But we do agree that that's just as much as his story.
It's just as much as his story as it is her story.
As her story.
And it's unfair. I think that it's very unfair for her to get on TV or media or wherever the fuck she gets on and basically just try to denounce her and say like, oh, he's just having a fucking episode. Like, no, there's truth based in this fucking episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
there's a lot of truth, and that's another thing. Y'all better stop acting like this motherfucker is just fucking crazy. Because some of the shit he be saying is true. It's true. And remember they did the same shit to Dave Chappelle. Remember they did the same shit with Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
When somebody starts speaking the truth, they automatically label them as crazy. So it is a lot that I believe that Kanye is saying that is the truth. I also believe that what he said about Harriet Tubman. Now I know y'all won't come for me on YouTube, but I'm ready for it. I'm all geared up.
I know what she getting ready to say.
You know what I'm about to say?
I'm interested to see and hear what you about to say.
I know y'all about to come for me. I know y'all won't come for me or whatever. But like I said, Kanye spits out stuff. We got 5 minutes. Kanye spits out stuff, and sometimes it's a good train of thought, but it comes out wrong. He did not mean that Harriet Tubman didn't free slaves because, duh, obviously she did. But what I believe that he was trying to say is that we were never true. The slaves that she freed was never truly free because all they did was go and work for white people. And mentally, we were still enslaved. Mentally, a lot of us are still enslaved. But he did disrespect her by saying it the way that he did say it. It was disrespectful. But, cause I even listened, Charlamagne, before I even heard Charlamagne say, I was like, we can't, and I know black people get tired of us saying
Like the sound bites. The sound bites kill me because that's exactly what it is.
It
a
takes it out of
fucking
context,
bite
too,
of a whole interview.
Yeah. It wasn't an interview, it was a rant. But I do believe that's what he meant, that basically we were still under mental slavery. We were never free. Yes. Much respect to Harriet Tubman. She's my favorite hero, my top. It is. I had to talk to anybody, dead or alive. I always pick Harriet Tubman because, girl, I want to know how the hell you did it, how you had the strength, the courage to do it, to save and keep going back for people. Some people that didn't even probably want to go.
I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, that you had to.
And
you was fighting with them and trying to get them. So no disrespect to her, but I get what he was saying. Yes, she freed us, but come on, y'all. Like, let's be for real, black people. We still not free-ish in America. And we was just having this conversation about how she has to tell her son he can't listen to his headphones when he gets off the bus stop, or he can't do this. But why?
Other teenagers is not an issue.
A white boy doesn't have to be taught how he has to walk home from school. Don't walk home with your hoodie on. Don't walk home with your headphones on. Make sure you don't look the officer directly in his face. Make sure your tone is this way. You can't drive if all your friends are going one place. No, 5 of y'all can't be in the same car together. Why? Because we free-ish. That's why. That's why. And all y'all people that want to fucking pretend and say, oh, it's happening because of this and because of that. No, you shouldn't have to. We've made that normal. That's how we have to raise our children. That we have to give them all these guidelines. They can't just be children.
They can't be kids.
We gonna end it on that.
Yeah. We can't ever turn it in.
I feel like we should be going back in some more. You know what? We might have this for another episode. Yeah. I felt like I just needed to get some more stuff. Okay, we're gonna leave it alone. We're gonna leave it right here.
Part 2 next week, next Thursday. But thank you for joining us. This is Sip and Discuss. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, subscribe,
Like,
and comment.
Thank you. Peace.